Do you know what a system of political checks and balances is? If you do, please raise your hand right now. Something tells me many people just raised hands because you most likely have heard of this system. Very, very fundamental system for any country. And may I ask you this? What age did you learn about existence of such a system? I bet at early age. I bet you learned it perhaps from school, perhaps from university. Most likely heard over, in newspapers, on TV, from your parents. Now, let's ask me the question. Do I know the system of checks, political checks and balances? Yes, I do. I'm raising my hand. At what age did I learn about this system? At the age of 23. Where did I learn it from? Well, it gets interesting. I learned it from the political science class at my American university in Gorham, Maine. 23 years old. I already was an adult managing a fairly good-sized business at that time, and yet I knew nothing about the system of political checks and balances. Nothing. They didn't teach me in school, in my Soviet school. They didn't teach me in Russian school. They did not teach me in Russian university. And my parents, I think my mom to this day doesn't know or has a very vague knowledge of this system that exists in other countries because she was not taught. Now, she's a very smart woman. She has high education. She's very professional, very sharp, but she was not taught. In the USSR and then later in Russia, we were not taught about the system of political checks and balances, my friends. We were not taught. And you know why? Because that knowledge is dangerous. If you have the knowledge, it kind of opens your eyes. It did open my eyes at the age of 23, trust me. And you start asking questions. Question is why country is organized the way it's organized. And oh my gosh, that's not a very good question, in Russia at least. I will tell you why it is hugely important to have healthy political system of checks and balances in any country, and how fail of such a system will lead to a complete fail of the entire country in near future. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, giving you the latest news, developments, updates from Russia. Usual Russia explained by the unusual Russian. That's me. Streaming live, and I would like to tell you the story of how Russian system of checks and balances failed and what it has led us to. And I want you to do this. I want you to, after I'm done, I want you to not make your own mistake and learn from our mistake. Don't make your own. Learn from ours. Because it's very costly in terms of economy, in terms of social development, and in terms of people's lives. It's very costly not to have the systems of checks and balances. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Like I said, I learned that existence of the system at American school. And boy, did it open my eyes. Boy, I was surprised that it's things such as simple wasn't even touched. How the government was organized and what the goals of the government and what the system of political checks and balances and what for and things like that. They weren't taught. They weren't discussed. Very strange. So I was wondering about that. And of course, I started asking questions. Now, don't get me wrong. I learned everything in Russian school. I graduated high school with the highest honors honor possible. I only had straight A's, and I maintained 4.0 GPA in Russian school. In American school, I made the dean's list. So I'm not stupid, okay? But still, I did not of this system. Again, knowledge is dangerous, at least in Russia. I learned about this system, and basically, I drew something for you. I'm not a very good painter. I don't know if you can see that. This is how a regular system of checks and balances looks like, a modern state system, like the one in the United States. There are three powers. They are legislative, executive, and judicial, okay? And power is contained by these three branches, okay? Because power is dangerous. If power is shifted to any of these hands, that'll be the end of democracy, that'll be the end of consensus, and there'll be dictatorship and power usurpation. That's not good. Again, this is classic. This is what is happening in the United States and in European countries, in, all developed, advanced democratic countries. Now, of course, I wanted to learn about my history, about the USSR. Did we have the system of checks and balances in the USSR? Yes. Not too many people know that, but yes, I did put two and two together. Now, let's go back to Joseph Stalin. He was the dictator. He was a bloodthirsty guy who murdered so many Russians. When he was running the USSR, from Lenin's death in 1924 to 1954 for 30 years, he's that he accumulated unlimited absolute power in his own hands through different moves, through different techniques, through different takeovers, through different actions. He was a bloodthirsty guy. He was murdering people left and right. He murdered, cleaned out the political opposition, and he ended up remaining the only guy who had the say, okay? He was the dictator. He was not the president of the USSR, not the secretary, general secretary, or whatever. He was simply the guy who had absolute power in his hands. And power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely, we know that. So he was corrupted to the core. Now he is one of the biggest villains the world has ever known. Okay, Joseph Stalin. Pooh. So, Nikita Khrushchev took over power right after Joseph Stalin died, or he was poisoned. There are many theories on that. So anyway, Nikita Khrushchev became man number one, but he immediately installed the system of checks and balances, because what Stalin was doing, he was murdering everyone, including the members of the Communist Party, and they considered themselves higher than regular people, populace. Okay, they were the ruling class, and Stalin didn't care. He was just mowing them out. So Khrushchev and his buddies decided that they're going to stop that forever. And they did stop that for a long time, for 40 years. What they did is they created this system where this triangle was, one side of the triangle was KGB, another side was army, and the third side was the police force. And the Central Committee of the Communist Party, Politburo, was in the middle. It was the judge. It was the balancer, the body that was balancing, that was overseeing, that was checking, that was controlling. And before KGB ruled unconditionally, okay, KGB, Stalin gave lots of power to KGB, and they took over police force and army. Okay, KGB was number one. So what Khrushchev did, he lessened the power of KGB, And he made three entities, three branches, very, very similar in power. And the Politburo was making sure that no one got too big, okay? And that system worked. It actually worked well for 40 more years until the Soviet Union fell apart. Communist Party was the ultimate party power holder in the USSR. Anyway, that was the system of checks and balances. Okay, it was a very twisted system, but it was the system anyway. Okay. Now, the United States. This is it. This is the American system. I studied it. I know for sure what this is all about. Other countries, Germany, England, I don't really know, but I assume it's something like this, very close, very similar. There are three branches. They are legislative. It is legislative, executive, and judicial. The Senate, the President, and the Supreme Court. And founding fathers of the United States, so my respect, they were absolutely great thinkers. They created a great system that lasted for a few hundred years and that has brought the United States to its place where it is now, okay? They understood that separation of power was absolutely necessary, and they made sure by creating the system that power could not be usurpated by any body of government. Okay, we are the people was the same thing as in the USSR, Politburo, kind of same thing. We are the people held the power in the United States, and Politburo held in the USSR. So this is a great work, one of the fundamental work on separation of power. It's called The Spirit of the Laws, and it was written by Baron de Montesquieu, and he says that despotism is primary threat of any government, failure of the system, okay? Because if one of the branches gets too big, it'll eat other branches, and it'll be despotism. Now let's talk about Russia. This is inside Russia, after all. I'm Russian, I talk about Russia. Enough theory. Let's get to the practice. USSR fell apart, and Russia became a very fresh, a very young, a very, really a strange, chaotic place. Russians, we were reinventing the wheel, so to speak, including reinventing the wheel in political organization of the country. We kind of had the Soviet system, only commies were gone, okay, for a couple of years. And there was a system of checks and balances, and Boris Yeltsin was the executive power. There was a legislative power, that was Russian Senate, and there was Supreme Court, Верховный суд. Okay, so in theory, there were three corners of the triangle, right? And the system worked, for better, for worse, but it worked. But then Boris Yeltsin, he destroyed the system in late 1993 because he didn't like the system. He wanted all the power, more power to himself. And there was a clash between two branches, executive and legislative. The Senate, Russian Duma, Russian Senate, basically went head-to-head with Boris Yeltsin, and Boris Yeltsin signed a decree that fired every single senator that was elected by the people, and the Senate revolted, and there was a coup. Senate said, you know what, this is unconstitutional, and we are seizing power, and we're just ousting Boris Yeltsin. Boris Yeltsin sent troops. You all remember, well, some of you remember the tanks in front of Russia's parliament, the Senate, whatever you call it, parliament, and you all remember tanks shooting at the Russia's White House. What a shame. Anyway, Boris Yeltsin won, and it was the first step towards the corrosion of Russia's political system. I was so young. I was like 2 years old. It didn't have time to mature, didn't have time to be proven, but the corrosion started. Now, Boris Yeltsin accumulated great power in his hands, but there was one problem. He was drinking too much. Most of the 90s, he did not perform his duties. Okay, his family members, his friends, his inner circle, they were doing whatever they wanted to. He was drinking heavily. He was a pro at drinking. Oh my, he was. You all remember how he did things. You know, he danced drunk in front of his voters. He went to Germany absolutely drunk. He started, started leading orchestra, so to speak. You all saw that. What a shame. But anyway, the only system of there was political competition in the 90s, actually quite fierce, and there was a prime minister, Evgeny Primakov, old timer from the USSR, and there was a bunch of senators. Oh, sorry, not senators, governors. Russia was divided into the provinces, like the states in the United States, and every state had a governor, and the governor was democratically, freely elected by the residents of the state, of province. And the governors were completely independent, and they had lots of power on the ground, in their provinces. They had power to trade in between provinces. They had power to sign treaties and so forth. So it was fairly great degree of freedom that they enjoyed. The provinces and the governors, the heads of provinces. And people could oust governors, people could re-elect them, not to re-elect, and so forth. Regular government, democratic elections. Now, Boris Yeltsin, in the last day of 1999, transferred power to Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin he's a very smart guy, okay? I think he understood everything right on the day one what to do. And I think he made a plan by himself or with his surrounding. That I don't know. But I think the plan was created at his early days of his job, a new office. And he understood that the governors were independent and they were a threat to presidential power. He also understood that free media that existed in Russia, independent media, was the threat to presidential power. And the third, he understood that political opposition, strong figures, were also a threat to political power. So it began. I think the first year of his presidency went quite quiet and quite normal. And then the first thing he did, he seized major TV stations and major media outlets. It was a soft takeover, not a revolutionary one. Basically, the ownership of the channels was changed by different means. There were three main channels: channel number 1, channel number 2, and NTV. And all three channels changed ownership, and government started controlling. Now, there was a second echelon of independent media that followed those big three in the coming years. Government started controlling, and you don't even have to change the ownership. You can just take partial ownership and install CEO and your own people to control it. And that's what happened on some of them. And some of them were completely transferred ownership to the government. And then there was a third echelon, local TV stations, local newspapers. Those came the latest, the last. Those came 10 years after, but they were not major. The highest echelon was major. The highest, meaning the first three major channels. And step number one of this creating of this state of what Russia is today, I don't even know how to name it. That was the step number one. First went the media. Second went the governors. That was also a soft power takeover or soft takeover. Basically, the governors could create a political bloc and they could oppose the executive branch, the president, and everyone else. And they had huge power, okay, because they were running the provinces. So what was made? The system of elections in Russian Federation was changed from electing governors to appointing governors. It's a little tiny change, It's huge. Can't you see? Elected government versus appointed. People elect governor. Then the governor, people set the goals. And the governor meets the goals. If he, works well and people like it, they re-elect the governor. And if they don't, they can impeach the governor, or they can put a new governor in 4 years, okay? So the governors were always on their tiptoes. They were answering their boss, the people. People had to say, the last say. But then things were changed and the governors started being appointed from the Kremlin. Well, they still answer to their boss. But who's the boss now? The boss is the person or people who appointed them. And it was either the president or perhaps people around president who a president approved, okay? And governors, when they were appointed, they started answering the bosses or a boss. Very, very plain and simple. Then another change was made. A huge change was made, okay, huge. I'll say in like everything is. Before 2004, and the governor election versus appointment happened in 2004. Now, in 2004, also, the senators, Russian senators, before 2004, they were elected by people individually. Okay, anyone could become a senator. For the Russian parliament. All you had to do was make people trust you. You had to go and get people sign for you, and then you could present your persona for the elections if you had enough signatures. Let's say 100,000 or 10,000. Then they would put you for the general election. And if people voted for you, you would go to Moscow to represent them on a local level. Good system, I like it. Well, in 2004, it was changed through one of the laws. A federal law was changed of elections, I think. And what happened? Now they weren't any individual senators. Everyone who was being elected to Russian parliament, Russian Senate, whatever it is, Russian Государственная Дума, had to be a member of a certain party. Parties now had representations in the State Duma. Parties, not the individuals. So if you wanted to become a senator, you had to cooperate with the party. Okay, you had to be within party lists. So that's a huge change. And then the new paradigm was born, political paradigm in Russia. You see, Vladimir Putin said quite a few times, that he thinks that the destruction, falling apart, destruction of the USSR was the biggest tragedy of the 20th century. Not World War I, not World War II, not the creation of the Eastern Bloc and all the wars and stuff like that, but the destruction of the USSR. Why? No one asked that. Why? Okay. I think it's because he enjoyed the idea that power in the USSR was in the hands of Politburo. So when he became the president, he started building similar system. And that system, again, it started being built in 2004. The new political paradigm was born, and it's called the vertical of power, or the power vertical. Basically, Russia is a federation. It means that different provinces possess a great deal of independence. They decide lots of things, how to govern themselves, how much taxes to pay, what kind of elections to make, when to make elections, and so forth. Everything, lots of things supposed to be decided on the local level. And this is what federation for you, But the vertical of power is very opposite. The vertical of power is basically a system where the executive branch is beefed up and made very, very strong. Instead of horizontal system of provinces having lots of control, there's one single vertical system. Vertical line in the power is everything is controlled on top by a body, a government, or one person, the president, or his bodies, whatever, but just one entity. And all decisions made on top and given to the provinces. And the provinces have no say. They must concur. And that's basically what the vertical of power is. From then on, it became very, very simple. Very simple. The provinces, step by step, again, there was not a revolution, but evolution. You see how they approached the change of election system for the governors? They said, okay, you know what? We're changing the law, but don't worry. This term, the governors are still elected. Go ahead and do the way it's done. And then there were elections, I think it's 2004, perhaps 2005, 2003. And people, in 4 years, people got used to the idea, but the next term, the governors will not be elected, but they will be given from Moscow, so to speak. So that was a very soft takeover. And then there were other soft actions, soft takeovers. Let's say the provinces, along with the governors, controlled a great deal of finances. How much taxes are left inside the province and can be spent for roads, for infrastructure, for projects, for people, but that was changed. All taxes went up to the Russian budget. And then the province would have to claim how much money it needed, and the Russian budget would approve and give the money from top to the province. Own money, but not own money, budget money, And that's a huge tool of control, financing. So again, the governors were appointed, and that's pretty much it. That was the end of federation system, and it was the birth and strengthening of the vertical of power. So what do you think? Who left at that point after the election system was changed, after the media was completely controlled by the government? What was left? Political opponents. Strong figures, strong personalities. They were in Russia, To name a few, Boris Nemtsov was madly popular guy, was very liberal, very common sense, seemed honest. And some other figures, Some were, some died of poisoning, some died in crashes, like General Lebed. Somehow his helicopter crashed, Boris Nemtsov was simply murdered. No one really knows who murdered him. There are still questions. And he was murdered right next to the Kremlin when everything is covered by video of surveillance. Alexei Navalny is the latest leader. They didn't have to murder him. They prisoned him, jailed him, and that's it. He's in prison. So what happened over the years? There haven't been any strong figures, opposition figures left. There's literally no one right now in Russia who can stand up and be seen as a strong person who could lead, who could be opposing to the current government, current system, current president. I'm not talking about organization like a political party. No, I'm just talking like a single guy. There's no one. Okay. That system, the vertical of power, it has been finessed by 20 years. It has been, I'd say, perfected. And boy, this system is strong now. Basically, vertical of power is the system of one strong man without any alternatives. All the branches, judicial, legislative, they have been weakened on purpose first, and then they were infused with needed people. Okay, no opposition there. Decisions can be made in days, like to change constitution. A proposal for a referendum can be made in days. A new law can be made in days. Thing is, everything that is happening right now in Russia is legal. Because for every action, government creates new law, and the law goes through proper channels. It goes through legislative branch, it goes through judicial branch, and it's signed by executive branch. Okay, so it's legal. Take this law of fakes and disinformation about Russian army. It's complete BS, right? But it's the law, and it was done in a very right way according to the Constitution. It was done in 2 days. Usually it takes months for a law to be created, but this law was somehow miraculous. It was not even a new law. It was a addendum to existing law, or something like that. But they did it in 2 days. Cosmic speed of light. Okay, usually it doesn't happen. But when you have a system, one strong man, without any competition, the strong man does not have to answer to anyone. Strong man can do, and by strong man, not necessarily just one man. It could be the group of people around one man. I don't even know if Vladimir Putin making decisions, or perhaps he's someone around him, I don't know. But it's very clear that there's one center of control of the government. And I made another picture I'd like to show you. In my mind, this is how Russian management of Russia looks like right now. This is Russia's system of checks and balances. Also, although it's not really checks and balances. It's a system of management, really. On top, there's one strong man or a group of people in front of that man, around that man, Tsar. And then these are Tsar's helpers, the military, police, National Guard, who else? Courts, teachers, everyone who gets paid by the government. They are the helpers. And this is populace, people, regular people. And they're just standing there. And that's it. That's not much they can do, okay? And all decisions are made right here. And they are given, lifted down to the people through different branches. This is how Russian system looks like right now. That's the best I could show it. It's actually amazing how we went from country that claimed freedom, that Soviet Union basically fell apart, and we are the people. We were there. We claimed our country back. We were so proud of that. Back in 91, 92, things were incredibly tough. Things were chaotic. There were so many bad things. But the biggest thing is we claimed our freedom. We claimed our country back. And it's amazing to see how we lost it step by step. And right now, if people ask me, what can we do? I don't really know how to answer them. I think every single effort counts, but these efforts are separate. They're going to be one small effort by every person. Okay, will all people take efforts? I don't know. Again, I will finish with what I started. My dear friends, please, after watching this, after listening to me, do not make the mistake. Learn from our mistake. Please, do not let your system of checks and balances fail. Do not let it change. Do not let it be put in disbalance, because once it happens, you will lose your country soon after that. Thank you so very much. It's been my message for today, and I hope you liked it, enjoyed it. Not the happiest message that I've delivered, but I think it's an important one. It shows you why Russia is in the place where it is right now. Because the strong man does not answer anyone and can make any decision he'd like to, based on any thoughts, any preferences, any desires that he has to. Thank you. Before I turn on the comments, I would like to hear your comments and feedback. I would like to ask you to please help me spread my message. Make reposts in your social media of this topic, and also please sign up for my Telegram group channel called Inside Konstantin's Russia. The link is in the description below the video. I do live streams, short ones, just to give a look what's behind the scenes of creating this channel, of creating streams, what's going on around me. Usually that's something I don't show on the streams. They are for different purpose, but my Telegram channel is for that. So please sign up. I also give some extra material there. If you want to support me, there's Patreon and sponsorship. Thank you so very much. Turning on the comments now. Hope everyone's having a good Sunday. I'm having a good Sunday. Cold one and busy one, but good anyway. Comments are on. Great to see everyone. Thank you, mods, for coming back. Thank you for standing by me every single day. I appreciate your support very much. Thank you. Love from the bottom of my heart. Mommy, Lorna, Blackhead, Harry, Amir, Bob S., howdy. And everyone, the usual suspects, thank you very much for giving your precious Sunday time to my stream. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So wanted you to know. If you want me to read your message, please put it in caps, put Inside Russia after @ so I see a large orange box. In my stream chat, just like Stefan did, good evening. Friend Othniel, another superb work from you. Thank you so much. I tried. This is one of those things that jumps out of me. You know, I want to share this stuff with everyone, with you. Howdy to everyone. Michigan, Lori Lane from wonderful state. Sam K, good to see that you're well. Thank you so much. Well, so far so good. Good evening from Germany. Estonia, Ragnar, good to see you. Thank you for coming back. Very clear drawing and well explained. Thank you. I tried. There are many well-known works debating these issues. Mill on Liberty, Burke, Reflections, Revolution in France. Are these works banned in Russia? JKB, I don't think they're banned in Russia. They're not very popular, for sure. The thing is, the less you ban things, the better for you. Because if you ban, could be a huge scandal, and people will start paying attention to the works because they're banned. You see? But if you don't ban them, then put them aside and don't make them a part of university programs because, hey, universities, they belong to the government. Their programs are given from the strong man from the Ministry of Education, given all the way down to the universities, okay? So if the programs, the teachers are told not to teach that, but teach something else, you don't have to ban it, okay? This is just not, it doesn't become mainstream and no one talks about that. You can shift attention that way. So these works are not banned. I've heard of them, but, welcome to Russia. Pamela J. Other political parties, they were until 2004, and then step by step, these political parties became, farce. They're not that just one huge political party. This is majority called United Russia, and everyone else is just there for, we call it the extras, The extras with bit parts. That's what they call it in the movie. How long did this started for? Well, it started in 2004. 2004. Started in 2004. Caller ID, howdy. Visited Moscow in 2011. Felt like any European city. Was vibrant. Do you think Putin and the current rulers don't care if that goes away? Of course they don't. Right now, they did care because, look, Russia had 2 strategic cities. Those cities needed to be clean, well-fed, entertained, nice roads, always electricity, no outages. That is Moscow and that is St. Petersburg, because they always wanted, starting from the Soviet times, they always wanted to keep population of those cities calm and happy and obedient, okay? They didn't want to give them any reasons to go and protest. Eat, sleep well, make money, there's plenty of jobs for you, entertain, everything's well. St. Petersburg is the same way. So if you went to Moscow in 2019, you can actually go back and look at the streams that I did from Moscow. I love Moscow myself. This is one of the greatest cities I've ever seen. It's fantastic. This opulence is incredible. It was incredible. Many usual suspects, they remember my streams not too long ago, 18 months ago from Moscow, and everyone was like in awe. Wow, look at this fantastic city. And this is what I thought. I was driving in Moscow in this May. It was perfect. Clean, nice weather, green grass, mowed, lots of, just so many new buildings. Everything is sparkling, brand new. There's so much money spent on Moscow. But that's all gone. Because now these people, they have a different agenda. They need to hang on to power for as long as possible. And we're talking about weeks and months. We're not talking about years and decades. Weeks and months. And of course, they don't care about Moscow or for anything for that matter. For lives, for, what happens to Russia in the future, they don't care. They just want to hang on to their power for as long as they can. Hope I answered your question. It's a very unpleasant answer for me, but that's truth. White Lining 777, could something like the Solidarity movement in Poland in the 80s succeed in freeing the Russian people? Growing up at the time, I thought it was like a miracle. Now, my friend, thank you for your support, and thank you the previous caller ID. Thank you for your support as well. Look, I am a believer that the only person who could save me from anything is myself. The only people who can save, or the only movement, or the only organization that can save Russian people from bad things happening is Russian people. It wasn't Solidarity that saved Poland. It was the Polish folks who organized into Solidarity, okay? Plain and simple. You can name it whatever you want. Solidarity, Mars expedition, the greenfield, brownfield construction, whatever. But the idea is people have to wake up, people have to realize, people have to have a desire to live differently, to have things changed, and they're gonna take actions. That's pretty much it. Name whatever you want. What's happening right now in Russia? I don't see anything like that happening. What will it happen in the future? Anything is possible. Okay, there are miracles possible. Miracles happen every day. Let's just hope for a miracle. Wanda Peace, thank you so very much for no super chat, no message, but the message is strong enough. Thank you so much. Jeffrey, there is a fourth checks and a balance in the US military type arms. And, well, okay. Point taken, thank you. Wanda, US here. Lisa Marshall, thank you so much. Wanda, we are seeing what happens when the three branches are bent. With work, it'll right itself. Good message. I have faith in the United States. Just Terry, hello, Lore 9 mods and everyone. Well, that also me is everyone. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Hello. Brian Crook, birthday boy. Is this your birthday today? I guess it is. Well, singing time. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brian. Happy birthday to you. Many happy returns to you, Brian. Thank you so much for coming. Sorry I didn't warn you and you didn't cover up your ears, but howdy everyone. There's a super chat from Luke. Good message today. One point I'd like to know about more is when and how Russian people lost interest in politics. It seems people are happy to just live their lives and leave politics to politicians. No democracy. Stepping stones. I don't know clear answer to your question. I've been asking that myself. I think there are different forces at work. They have been at work for quite some time. And their deliberate goal was to make Russians not care about the politics. I'm still investigating. This is an ongoing project, okay? But what I am pretty sure about, there have been forces in the works. You know, there have been some people controlling the forces. Wanda, Pushkin towns, Moscow and St. Petersburg. Well, Pushkin, you know, he was such a guy. He traveled everywhere. Like, he's been to every single corner of Russia. But yes, it's his... St. Petersburg is his town, and he lived in Moscow as well. Jeffrey, addendum to addendum to addendum. Yep, that's how it works usually. Dave, howdy, hanging out booze. Booze. Hanging out Bose noise cancelling headphones. Oh no, it's too late. I'm sorry, it's too late. Dale, I see the same kind of thing moving here in the USA now. Scary. Please don't. I'm telling you, don't make your own mistakes. Just learn from ours. Aaron, is there any chance of reversing the process step by step, starting with campaigning for political opposition to be allowed? Ask for small changes, but keep asking. I don't think it'll work like that. Asking not gonna work. I think it's too far out there. You know, it's not gonna go back the way it went here. Huge change, shake up, earthquake, revolution, you name it. But there's gonna be something. Well, it's happening right now. If you think Russia is having a handful of peanuts, you're wrong, because Ukraine, that hundreds of thousands of people dying. Sooner or later, Russia is going to go through a drastic, very, very fast, very, very immediate change. Some people will have to answer for what has been done. And I think that could be the event. But time will tell. Mr. Miyagi, howdy, howdy. Nothing will change in Russia. How can you change society where you can buy 2-liter plastic beer bottle for $1 and forget all your problems? Not true. Now beer costs more. And you don't forget all your problems from 2-liter. I never forget. I didn't drink beer. I didn't drink at all. So you're looking at a Russian, and I am the one example that just making your theory wrong. And there are people like me in Russia, still remain in Russia, inside Russia, and outside Russia for that matter. Joy, in Russia, how intervened is the church with these three levels of power, of checks and balances? I don't want to talk about Russian Eastern Orthodox Church because it's too far on the government side. Okay, it's one of the branches, so to speak. The church needs to make an existential question: who it belongs to, the God or the government? Okay, when it gives the answer and it proves with actions that it belongs to God, I will look at the church again. Graham Wilson, love the videos, Constantine, conveying much love and respect from England to you and your family. Thank you so much. One tea lover to another. This one is to you. Thank you. Thanks for the support and thanks for wonderful words. Support is much appreciated these days, but you know what? The words, they're priceless. Thank you. Ragnar, how did it happen that the populace didn't take steps to counter these developments? I made a stream about that. I think what happened was Russia started riding the wave of wealth from 2001 to 2014, and there was a new social contract. Russians found themselves rich, literally overnight, over a couple of years, and they started loving it. They started loving what money gave them. Ability to travel all over the world, ability to take vacations, to buy cars, to live life, to buy land, build houses, It was a fantastic time in terms of business, in terms of what was happening in Russia, like economic growth. And there was a social contract made, unspoken social contract. The people said, you know what, we are loving this. We're loving money. We're loving this wealth. We are so sick and tired of the 80s, of the USSR, of the 90s, where we just were powerless, penniless, just no one. And now we have money. We can breathe easy now. We can, enjoy life. We wanted it to last. As long as you keep on giving us this, we don't care what you do. And I think that was the key fundamental problem. Because, again, the Russian government did not work in a revolutionary way. It was making stepping stones, tiny ones. And it was not like it was a secret. These laws were right there in front of everyone's eyes. And some Russians approved them. But I think the biggest problem was all attention was put to ourselves, to us enjoying life, kicking it back, making money and things like that. So, answering your question, Ragnar, that was a mistake, clearly. EMS paramedic, Liz, how have you been? Howdy. I'm so happy I could join you today. We pray for you every single day. You are in my mind, in my prayers. Thank you so much for joining. Ignoring is always the best weapon. Philo Girl, thank you so much for being the sponsor for 8 months. US media laughed at Yeltsin. Alcohol constantly. Well, I remember Russian people laughed at him. I remember seeing him personally drunk, Well, that's what laughing at Yeltsin did to Russia. Thomas Elliot, howdy. Luke, another message, another question. Do you think there's a larger percentage of people in Russia that prefer having a government making decisions for their lives instead of making decisions themselves in comparison to other countries? There was a huge deal of Russians who didn't mind the government making decisions for them. I think very soon everyone is going to wake up because many people in Russia have been in lethargic sleep. They're going to wake up, and it's going to be a rude awakening because the economy is going to be in shambles, and it'll affect their lives 100%. And no one knows what happens with Ukrainians pulling, Russians pulling out, Ukrainians pulling in, Russia is definitely already under fire. So people start waking up and they start asking questions. Just to give you an example, there was a couple bombings of Russian military airports, military bases, way inside Russia, like 600 kilometers or 600 miles even, I'm not sure, but long way from Ukrainian border. So Ukrainian drones flew hundreds of miles in the Russian land and delivered charges as they were supposed to. A lot of Russians woke up. They said, you know what, wait a second. We are supposed to have the state-of-the-art, fantastically operational land-to-air missile system that locks our skies completely. Where is it? That's the question everyone is asking. They're saying, so there is no system? So our sky is not locked? What the fudge? But I have the answer to them. Everyone asks me, I tell them, you go to the south of France, you go and look at the biggest yachts that are docked at the marinas, and you will see where this missile defense system is. It's right there. It's those yachts, okay? And some other yachts all over the world, and some castles, and some real estate, and go to Miami, Sunny Islands. This is where Russian defense system is, partially, in Miami. Lots of real estate there. That's where it goes. Now, the next step, when Russians ask the question, get the answer, it's up to them to decide what to do. What's going to happen? I don't know. We'll see. But this is what happens when someone makes decision for you. Then we'll see. Time will tell. Brianna, howdy. Great to see you. The usual suspect. Russia will never elect a leader who appears weak. It's just how they roll. The Duma is more a mix of people, things for however, yes, men there too. I don't really find anyone independent in Duma these days. They were before, but not any longer. And they just extras with bit parts, But will people blame the government for their lower living standards or the evil West? Well, let me tell you now, of course, it's the evil West is being blamed. But then sooner or later, people are going to realize. If they don't realize what the real reason is, then they're not worth having freedom. They're not worth having high living standard. I mean, your happiness is in your own hands. Okay, you have to start by asking questions and clearing up your mind. Stop drinking booze. Okay, just be sober for a while. Learn. Go to school. log online, learn things. There's plenty of knowledge available right now. Enough to start making you questions. So if Russians if they will start making that, no, if they will start doing that, then there's hope for them. But now, look, they're trying to blame the evil West. Like you're not gonna believe. The propagandists saying, of course, everything's getting worse. Of course, because we've been under such sanctions. Unprecedented, biggest sanctions in the world. Why? We don't know. We didn't do anything wrong. I mean, come on, look. We're so righteous. And they place sanctions upon us. They just want us to destroy us economically, That type of rhetoric is coming out of their mouths. Okay. Koshkin Dom, thank you. Thank you. It's an honest answer. I don't lie. Alvin, the biggest problem with electing KGB officer, one of the problems, but not the only one, and probably not the biggest. The biggest was letting control out of your hand, out of people's hands. That when the people were looking at those atrocious things being done in front of them, they kept silent. That was the problem. The governors were elected, all of a sudden they're appointed. Hey, wait a second, you can't do that. Whoa, let's talk about that. No, everyone just kept on silent. Everyone was going to Egypt, to Thailand, having a good time, drinking, buying properties abroad, and Colford SS is going up 130. Cola starts in January? I don't understand. Diana Smith, you are right to hammer home the point that we all need to pay attention to our systems, all flawed. I know I have become more active politically as a result of all of this. Diana, thank you so much. That is actually, the greatest result of the stream is that when people, if they hear me and they will start thinking about, even just thinking, start asking more questions and start thinking about getting involved in the politics more, not become politicians, but just paying attention to what's going on even more. Hey, this is a super chat I missed from SD. $10. Thank you so much. Okay, do you agree it's the same path as Russia when liberals in US want to add more Supreme Court justice because they are on the low end of 5 to 4 makeup? No, that's a very local power struggle. They have been moments in history, and if you look at the history of Supreme Court, this power struggle has been on and off, on all the time. Liberals, conservatives, I don't think that's such a huge threat to the United States, and I think it's fairly normal. I could be wrong, of course. I'm not American, but that's my point of view. Like before the price goes up. Ekkala, how the Russians responding to the current oil import ban? They are not paying attention, the ones who are left inside, because they're not given any information. They don't know what's going on. They don't know about the ban, because the government does not tell them. The government keeps on telling that everything's fine. Everything is going according to the plan. So they're not reacting in any way, as far as I understand. Some of it, most of them, they don't even know. Kolfin, you can buy a glass of vodka at the supermarket for $1.50 in Russia. Yes, you can, or it used to be able to. I think you still can now. Ragnar, how expensive is a liter of vodka in Russia now? Grey Goose goes for about $50. Finlandia about $40. Oh, wait a second. There's no Grey Goose anymore. It used to go for that. Grey Goose is gone. All the foreign vodka is gone. Holy moly. Russian vodka is same. It's like different brands, different bottles, but it tastes absolutely same, and it varies in prices. 1 liter probably goes for like 300 rubles, the cheapest, to a couple thousand rubles, the most expensive. But it's absolutely same. It's just what's the difference is marketing. The bottle, the brand, the logo, the story, the whole 9 yards, and the price, of course. Imagine all Russia with all the culture in an open society. That's my dream, Swednik. Wanda, it's hard not to agree with you about Russian people having power, not having power. Rachel, or Rochelle? Rachel, I think. Democracy starts in the classroom. Yes. Can't argue with that. Today, the Inside Russia chat room safe word is pineapple. Okay. Time's up, says Nightbot, and I'd better listen to the timebot. Brian, thank you so much. How's it going? That's going well. It's going better now with a super chat. Golfan, the court system seems non-existent in Russia. No, it exists. It exists, okay, but how it exists and how it operates and how decisions are made, that's a different question. But the court system, I assure you, the judges are one of the most powerful people in Russia because no one really affects their decisions on many, many cases. They can make any decision and they don't hold responsibility. They're not responsible for that. So they're very powerful, very rich people. Noah, keep up your sincerity. Thank you so much. I'm trying. I've been trying to keep up my sincerity. Smirnov on tap. Ugh, can't stay Smirnov. David, you are correct about the Supreme Court, in my opinion. Thank you, David. Well, just look at the history of Supreme Court judges' appointments. The history of American history for the past 70 years. Same thing. And it hasn't destroyed America, Terry Carter, do you think if nobody pays attention, the government will do as they wish? Well, now in Russia, they can do as they wish, even if everyone is paying attention, like right now, because there are no checks and balances. There's one czar, there are czar helpers, and there's people. That's it. No one can stop the czar. Golfin central bank announced major problems due to price cap. Yes, not just central bank. I announced major problems due to the price cap. I made a stream on that. I'm releasing the video God helps, like tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Okay, just on that. But the thing is, in order to understand what the central bank says, you have to watch and pay attention to the central bank. How many Russians do that? Not too many. Okay, that's the problem. And central bank doesn't lie. It has given some decent information. Head of the central bank came out and said, you know what, we are fudged, basically, in June. She said, you know what, we're going to have problems of cosmic scale. And did anyone pay attention back then? I did. Few people did. I told it to you. Did Russians pay attention? No. Why do so many people in Russia want the USSR back? I think that's stability. They want good life. They want, it's too much for them right now. This picture painted in their memories by the government that USSR was good. Let's go back. Life will be simple. We're all gonna be well fed. We're all gonna live. We're all gonna be happy. Happiness. The USSR means happiness. Do you remember this tiny little thing, how we all got together and went out to dachas and stuff? Do you remember that? They taking out small details that were good. There were good things about our lives in the USSR as well, right? And they bring them back and they're blowing them up into cosmic proportions, okay? The manipulation of cosmic proportion here. That's why so many people, they're made to wanting to go back to the USSR. Brian, thank you so much. Is there a Supreme Court in Russia and how to become on that? There is a Supreme Court. At some point back in the 90s, it was the independent, but then things happened, and now the president can, well, anyway, I'm not going to go there, but it's not that independent anymore. My friends, Sunday, I'll let you go. Thank you so much. It's been bitter stream, very bitter. Let's pray to God that everything is gonna be all right. Please join me, everyone. If you are believers, join. If you're non-believers, in my eyes, you are believers, all of us, all of you, all of us, because if you have heart that's beating, then you have love in your heart, because I have not seen one single person live in person without love of certain degree. Some have more, some have less, but there's love in every beating heart, and love is God, so therefore God is in every heart, and let's ask God for good things and thank Him for what we have had so far. Thank you. Dear God, please, thank you so much for giving us this life, this Sunday, this week. Thank you for giving us, putting food on our tables and giving roofs over our heads. Thank you for surrounding us with love, the people who we love and people who love us. Please help our children, keep them safe and healthy, and give us wisdom so we raise our children the way that when they grow up, they will make this place a better world. We'll never, ever start fighting with each other. Please help stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. Reach out and touch people who are responsible and who can make this decision to stop the bloodshed. Reach out so they make the decision. Please help everyone in Ukraine who has been affected. Give them strength to go through these hard times. Give them forgiveness. Give them love. Give them happiness. Ease their pain. Give them recovery and soothe their souls, please. Give everyone in Ukraine, send everyone in Ukraine an angel, so the angels protect everyone and keep them away from harm's way, so not every single drop of blood is shed anymore. Please help my country, Russia. Send the army of strongest angels with sharpest swords led by Saint Michael, So they will come and get rid of the demons that have hijacked my country. Let Russia be run by angels. Let it be righteous, peaceful, and good. Thank you. Please bless everyone who is helping Ukrainians. Help everyone who's traveling, send safe travels. Help everyone who's running for their lives, fleeing. Please provide help to those people, send help their way, and send good people their way. Give the hungry food, give the homeless shelter, give the hopeless ones faith and hope. Give all of us peace. Please make all of our children smile. I am also asking for all children who are sick right now. Please give them recovery, because they're the most precious what we have. I'm asking for pregnant women who are making a choice whether to keep their babies or not right now. Please talk to them and whisper something into their ears so they make the right choice. And they also need help. Lots of women in that position need help. They please send love of their families and provide help. Thank you so much for bringing us here in this community and allowing us to pray together. Thank you. I'm asking for everyone who's praying or watching us praying right now. Please hear the prayers, answer the prayers, and make everyone's wish come true. I also would like to ask for a few people who need help. They are Shirley and Debbie. Shirley needs recovery. He really needs your miracle. And his family needs miracle. They need him back. They need him recovered. They need him in their lives. Please help Shirley and please help Debbie, because she is taking this dire situation very personally and she suffers a lot and she cares about Shirley. So please help, give her strength, and give Shirley recovery. Please help David's father from. Please help Wolfgang, David's father. Please help Jen Allen with depression. Send light into her life. Please have depression disappear from her life. Please help my son Michael, who is sick right now. Send him recovery as soon as possible. So he wakes up tomorrow feeling much better. Thank you. Please help Yelena, Natasha, Jake, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Bonnie, Galina, Karen from Maine, Lori Miles' husband, Sherry, Layla, Phil's mom, Lisa's son, Jade, Janine, Michael Milkowitz, Marlene, Paul Binns, Rudy Kaisley, Richard, Mallory M., Dirk Misler. Please have Dirk's father rest in peace. James Rhodes, Terry, Brittany S., Lars Henrik, Hannah and her children, Richard Burris, Ian, Angelic at Life, and UK, Scan Family's grandson, Grace, Barb, Randolph, Nelly, Arkady, Yuri, and everyone who is in Mykolaiv, Ukraine. Harry's family, Brian McManus, Verlinda's niece, Doug, Rafaela From, Anna, Priscilla, Michelin, King Nero, Gaby Hyman, Donald, Deborah, Allison Dave Moyers, Terry Scrugg, Janice Burgess, Maureen M., and her sister, Mr. Hanson, Heidi, Bob, Tony, Kylene, Rob, Umil, Jennifer, Matt, Ashley and family, Mr. Dean Spooner and his church called Our Savior Lutheran Church, Barry Reading's sister, Lisa Kumrian, Jacob, Adam Oliver, Treasure, Kyle's wife, Grace Philosophy, Maggie, Carmen's sister, Vladislav and his father Sergey, Susie Myler, Gina and her husband, EMS paramedic Liz. I would like also to ask for 4 special children. They are Cadence, Sebastian, Maverick, and Coulter and Theo, 5 children. They need help. It's also always a tragedy when kids suffer and not well. So please send them your help, send them your miracle, and send their families your help and miracle. And also, again, please help my son Michael with recovery. I am also praying and asking for all children in Ukraine who are in dire position right now and need help. Please provide any help that they need. Thank you so much, dear God. Jesus Christ, amen. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for coming. It's been bitter but truthful and honest stream. Thank you. Please help me out, spread my message by making reposts in your social media accounts. I will have another message tomorrow. Well, kind of not a message, but a story. Alex, that kid from Lesazavodsk, who fled Russia to Tashkent and then to the United States to Texas, he's ready to speak tomorrow, so there will be a joint live stream. I'm inviting him as a guest to my live stream, and he will tell his story. So tomorrow we will know everything, what happened to him from first hands, from himself. Thank you so much. Please come back tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. Before I go, Carthago delende est.